problems with our group is we always have a lot of people who come in late, if you remember.
You should see the recording.
Yes, I do. It's
recording it together. Yeah, I did a quick rename of the program to hardening your WordPress site. There's no such thing as absolute security, so there's no point in pretending that you can do that. At any rate, for those who are watching this recording who don't know who I am, my name is Howard Harkness, and I am a member of the North Texas PC Users Group and the SIG, but I am currently residing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so it's a little bit hard for me to be there in person. Today's program is going to be about hardening your WordPress site, basically things that I have learned, some of them the hard way. One of the problems with WordPress is that it is very, very popular. It has about 75 million installations, and about half of those are self-hosted, like mine are. Mine are all self-hosted. Let me get, there we go. Because of the popularity, it's a prime target for script kiddies. A script kiddie is a person who is who wants to be a pest on the internet, and yet doesn't really know very much. But he buys scripts from people who are better at it, so that he can hack websites. Now, some of the ways that you can tell or that you can suspect that your site has been hacked, if you go to your website redirects, or you go into your website and it goes to somebody else's affiliate offer, then you're definitely hijacked. If you get a malicious site warning, usually from Google, that's usually a pretty good indicator as well, although sometimes Google screws up. You may not be able to access your site, period. In one case, I had a site that I couldn't get to because it was under a distributed denial of service attack, and it was so busy it wouldn't come up. Occasionally, I get notices from my ISP that I have bad files, and I go clean those up. Okay, so now who gets targeted by a hacker? Pretty much everybody. High-profile blogger sites are obviously more valuable, but any site can be valuable to distribute malware or mount denial of service attacks on other targets, or just to host illegal content to shield criminal activity. For instance, if somebody wants to host kiddie porn or something like that, they put it on your computer, and if it's found, you are in trouble. Oops. Security is kind of a never-ending thing. It's kind of like painting the wheels on a moving train. So I'm not going to go into real detail in a lot of this stuff. I'm going to cover some tools, some free, some paid, but I'm going to do just a general presentation because everything changes. You have to be proactive. This is not a set and forget type of thing. Okay, one of the first things that you need to do is start with a good hosting provider. A lot of folks go with outfits like HostGator or Bluehost, and those are probably okay if you're hosting a small site for a nonprofit and you're not worried about making any money. They're cheap, but they're notoriously insecure. Also, they're all run by an outfit called EIG, and I've forgotten what the name means, but you can go look up EIG and hosting, and you'll find that EIG is in the business of buying up these mega hosts like HostGator and Bluehost, and moving them to cheaper servers, laying off the support staff, and basically milking the site for all it's worth. My service provider is D9 Hosting. There's a link on here. When I post this on the on YouTube, I'll put some links there that are live that you get to. It's a small host. I've been very happy with them. The few times that I've actually been on support calls with them, I've been talking to the owners. So it's a fairly small thing. They've got about 10, 12,000 subscribers. And the owners say that that's about all they really want, that level. And they're not planning to sell out to EIG, and they're not big enough to be interesting. One thing you don't want to do is use shared hosting. Shared hosting means that you are sharing the same Linux login with a bunch of other sites. So if somebody hacks somebody else's site on your shared host, they've got you too. Fortunately, WordPress is already fairly secure. That doesn't mean it's perfect, and it also has some defaults that are not very good. One default, and I imagine they'll probably eventually change this, is that whenever you set up a WordPress account, you get an administrator account with the name admin. Most folks advise to immediately change that and use another name for the administrator account. Well, I go a step farther. I actually do a second admin account, and then I turn around and I keep the first admin account and just reduce it to no access. The actual name of the admin account is actually fairly easy to discover. So anyway, the process I use is actually kind of like a honeypot. A honeypot is something that misleads a hacker wannabe into thinking it's a valuable target. So I do a fresh installation. I have the admin account. I create a second administrator account. I log into that account and change admin to no role for this site. I also put about a 40-character randomly generated password, which I throw away because I don't need it. And that is kind of interesting. I've had plugins monitoring on that, and I've seen that a lot of the script kiddies still attack the admin account. So if they ever break into that one, which they probably won't, they'll find that they don't have anything. Now, this isn't directly about security, but I mentioned honeypot, and I got a letter from, or an email from Project Honeypot this week saying that I had actually identified a email harvester that they previously did not know about. And that, if you want some information on that, you can go to the Project Honeypot article that I wrote this week. It's kind of, again, that's not really about security, but you can just kind of help make the internet in general a better place by participating in Project Honeypot. Your second level of security, after you've got a good host, is to get a secure password. It's absolutely essential to have a password that's not easy to guess. And there are a lot of different pieces of advice about that. Most of them are bad. What I recommend is use a password manager. There's lots of them. The one I use is LastPass, and I use the premium version. There is a free version that does pretty much everything you really need. But the premium version is not very expensive, and I just do that. They don't even have an affiliate program because they're that cheap. There's not enough money left over to pay any affiliates. I generate and use very long random generated passwords. I don't know what the limit is on WordPress, but I know it's at least 45. My password, or my master password, is a phrase which I include non-dictionary words and some special characters. I do have a kind of an involved way of teaching folks how to do a very long phrase that's easy to remember, but that's probably a subject for another presentation, because this one probably already go pretty long. The third level is the security plugins. Now, I use these 4 security plugins. I've had some others that I've used and it worked okay, but I don't use them anymore because they're out of date. So StatPress Visitors, HT Access Editor, Ninja Firewall, and Backup Buddy. Now, I used to use a thing called Limit Login Attempts. It's still recommended by a bunch of people, but it hasn't been under active development for a couple of years. So I'm kind of leery about using a plugin that's more than a couple of years old. Ninja Firewall WP Edition, and I use the free version, has a brute force login attempt detection that you can enable, and you can see what's going on. Now, StatPress Visitors is not really a security plugin, but it does give you information that helps you spot malicious activity. It's got a dashboard in there, and you can go in and look at accesses that look like they're from suspicious places and so forth. Now, it also gives you some general traffic information. The traffic information is not as good as you can get from other sources, but it's still a relative thing that you can use just to see how much visiting or how many visitors you're getting. HT Access Editor is a powerful but very hazardous plugin. I have personally managed to screw my sites up and had to get up and either restore from backup or go into FTP and delete my HT Access file. The primary use is that .htaccess, which is a facility that is provided by most ISPs. It's not actually part of WordPress, but it handles things like redirection, and it will block visitors by IP address. There's a complex command language. You don't need to really know much of it. So we'll look at a small subset of that. Here's what I've got on one of my sites. Actually, this is out of date, but I have this XML-RCP.php is a way of sending articles to your site by email. Anybody who figures out what your secret email address is can put anything they want on your site. And so I have a HT Access entry called Files, and it lists that and says, deny from all. Basically, nobody, even me, I cannot get to XML RCP, at least not through WordPress. I can get to it through the FTP, but not through WordPress. And then various IP addresses that I've had. These are all known hackers. And I don't use the last octet of each IP address. So I just block all 256 because the hackers basically morph their addresses all the time. Ninja Firewall is a very, very interesting and powerful plugin, and it's free. They do have a premium version, but I have not used it. I haven't needed it. It modifies some files outside of WordPress, and your setup requires certain permissions, which you may not get from all hosts. D9 hosting does provide everything you need to use Ninja Firewall. If you ever decide to remove it, you must do so through the WordPress dashboard. If you don't, you end up in a position where you have to delete your entire WordPress installation and start over. Would you like to know how I know? Be sure to test the installation. There's some instructions that come with it. And I've also found, using different plugins, that it reduces the number of brute force login attempts dramatically. So it's back there doing a lot of things, and I think it uses a global hacker list to identify that, and they cooperate with various other organizations. Anyway, I recommend WP Firewall Ninja Firewall WP Edition free version. Now, when all else fails, you must have a good backup. You must have a good backup at all times. And I've had some friends of mine who had their sites hacked, and they didn't have a good recent backup, and they were basically hosed for a long time. I have used Backup Buddy, and I've also used some other ones. Backup Buddy currently costs around $300. I'm not sure. They may have gone up. That's kind of expensive, so you probably only want to consider that if you're actually making money from your site and you want to reduce the amount of time that it takes. It has some other features like malware detection and so forth. I use the Backup Buddy Gold, which has unlimited sites and lifetime updates. Anyway, whenever you make a backup, also download the backups to your personal computer, and you might even want to make a copy of it on a DVD. Say one more thing about Backup Buddy. There is a free plugin called Updraft Plus, which is actually fairly good. It's a little bit less convenient to use, but I have used that also, and it does work. There's a fourth level that I have not actually used myself. And the problem is that I run several blogs that are guest blogs. I have lots of guest authors, and this complicates things for multiple people accessing the site. But you can use cPanel to password direct to your entire site, or even just a specific directory. And that makes it, you have to log in twice in order to get to your site. In general, you always want to apply updates as soon as they come out. Current version now actually is 4.5.1, I think. It just came out like yesterday or the day before, and I have already updated my sites. Since 4.0.1, WordPress will actually download and install some of the security updates or the minor updates. So you always want to keep the most current WordPress version. Any of your themes, you want to watch your themes to make sure that they are up to date. And same with your plugins. Now, for themes and plugins, you also want to periodically check to see when was the last time they were actually actively maintained. You see a plugin that hasn't been maintained in a year or two, you probably want to go and search for something that does the same thing that is still under active maintenance. If you're not using a theme, delete it. There have been some interesting problems caused by unused themes that had backdoors in them that allowed hackers to get in, even though they weren't installed, they weren't actually in use. I have several dozen WordPress sites, and I have found that keeping everything updated, backed up, takes about, when it reached 4 hours per week, I decided to do some outsourcing. And I currently have an outsourcer who works for me 5 days a week out of the Philippines. And that might be a good subject for a future presentation here at the North Texas PC Users Group. At any rate, there are some other utilities that allow you to manage multiple sites more efficiently. I am hesitant to use them. I saw one of them that looked pretty good, but when I saw their password set up, I said, nope, I ain't trusting my sites to this. And I wrote them and I said, your setup process involves leaving your sites completely open to hackers for 30, 40 seconds, and that's all it takes. And they wrote back, says, well, we've never had any problems with that. And about a week later, their site got hacked. So at any rate, better safe than sorry. Okay, to summarize, and it looks like I stayed pretty well in my 20-minute self-imposed limit, so I can have some question and answer period if anybody has any questions out there. See, I didn't mention the reseller account. Don't use shared hosting. Even though I don't sell hosting, I use a reseller account because what that allows me to do is have every account on a separate Linux login on the server. And that means that if somebody hacks one of my sites, they've hacked one of my sites and not all of them. I mentioned use strong passwords. There are several different utilities that allow you to do that. I use LastPass. My brother prefers KeepPass, which is okay, but it's not a cloud thing. It actually lives on your PC. LastPass is a cloud service, which makes it a little bit more convenient. I can use it from anywhere in the world. Use the security plugins. The ones that I covered, probably not the only ones available, or they're definitely not the only ones available, and they may not even be the best. They have worked for me fairly well. And I use a admin honeypot, and like I said, I also recommend joining the honeypot.net. Is it .net or .org? I forget. Anyway, I'll put the link on the YouTube. Always apply your updates. Keep everything updated as much as possible, and remove your unused themes. And there's one other thing I forgot to put on the summary is don't have any junk on your site. If you don't use a theme, don't even have it installed. Just completely remove it. Same thing for plugins. And you don't want to just sit back and say, oh, I've taken care of this, because you haven't. It constantly changes. Okay, let's see. I get out of the, okay, I want to stop the screen share, I think. Where did I get? Well, one of the things I can do is just, there we go. That automatically stops it because I shut down the program I was sharing. Okay, any questions about this presentation?
Howard, how can I access it?
I'm saying what?
How can I access it?
How can he access it?
The recording?
Yes.
I will be putting the recording on YouTube, and I will send Diane a link to that, and she can publish it to the group. I will also probably substitute this presentation for the one that I did on my blog. So if you go to makemoneyblogging.net, you'll see the latest one. It was a blog post that I did about a week ago. So yeah, you'll be able to access it via YouTube or via my site. Any other questions?
Are you able to use VPN Defender?
Do I use VPN? I do use VPN at work. I have not used VPN on my site yet. If it gets to the point where things are really a problem for my site, I probably will use a VPN. The good VPN services cost money. The free ones are very slow and cumbersome to use.
Well, the one I use is called Freedom, and it's actually really free, and it's working very fine to go from anywhere.
Could you spell that?
Freedome.
Oh, okay. D-O-N-E.
M-E.
Freedom
Yeah,
with E on the end.
Freedom. Okay, I'll go look that one up. I can put a link to that thing, and it is free.
Yeah, it's free.
I'll have to check that out. VPNs are kind of nice, especially if you do any work at all in like a McDonald's or a cruise ship or things like I do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a trial though. It's free to download, but it's a trial to pay thing. But people come with kind of codes put in where you have more days off of it, where you have more days to have it on.
Okay, so it's the freemium model, huh?
Well, basically, when you have it, you basically have a trial for about 60 to 30 days, and then you can either buy a yearly code, or you can look up a different code that someone has got and just put it in, and you'll have many days off more.
Yeah, well, if something like that's worthwhile, like I pay for things like Evernote and LastPass and Backup Buddy. If it's really worthwhile, I don't mind paying for stuff that actually saves me time or helps me make money. So I'll check out the Freedom and see what I think about it. Any other questions?
Hey, Howard, on an unrelated note, how's your business going?
Which one?
Well, first of all, the job you took up there.
Oh, yeah, flight safety. I am doing quite well. I've got a new project coming up on Monday that looks pretty exciting. And yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to going to work on Monday.
That's nice.
That's wonderful. It's been a long time. I had one of those.
Well, if I ever get to a point where I decide that I don't really want to go to work on Mondays, I'll retire. But no, flight safety has done quite well. I just bought a new house here in Tulsa, and I'm outfitting my violin room, so I'm going to work on getting my violin students built back up. As for the make money on the internet, I haven't really done a lot. My wife has actually done quite a bit better than I have. She does Amazon FBA, and she's spoken about it here at the NTPC Users Group, and so is Diane. And that's actually a pretty good business. I make a little bit of money on affiliate sales, and I'm starting to work a little bit more on that. Like I said, I now have a virtual assistant who lives in the Philippines, so I have almost 24-hour-a-day coverage on my sites during the week, and that's fairly cheap. You can hire a Philippine VA who actually is pretty good for anywhere from about $1.50 an hour to $4 or $5 an hour for a specialist. So we're talking about extremely low rates of pay, and I've been very happy with the work that I've gotten from my VA. We've worked with her for over a year now.
Wow. Well, thanks.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Howard, my name is Rich Dallin. I'm brand new to the North Texas User Group today. Can you hear me okay?
I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding you. Probably need to be closer to the mic.
Making everybody move around here. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. My name is Richard Elliott. I'm brand new with the North Texas User Group, just visiting today with my wife. My question is, actually I have two questions. Have you actually had pen testing done? And is there a way that you do that economically, if you've ever have done that? Or there another party to the site audits and actually verify that your stuff is working right? I mean,
okay, I do malware scans, and D9 Hosting has been very good about doing regular scans and coming back and telling me that things are either working okay or they're broken. Was that what you were asking about?
So in other words, you get another parties looking at your sites to verify for you that they're good? And
yeah, D9 is very proactive about that. They scan all of their customers for malware, and they're real good about notifying if I have a problem. And they're also very fast on the support tickets, which is one of the reasons I really liked it. That's one of the things that I got really tired of HostGator, because it was 3 or 4 days before I hear back on a support ticket, and then I'd be talking to somebody who basically didn't know what they were doing.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a good package, and you're trusting of it, and it's a good deal for the, you know, that's what I'm just starting a website, so I'm looking at anything that's effective and sustainable and economical. You know.
Yeah, D9, the reseller account that I got is actually fairly expensive. It's not super expensive, but I pay a couple $100 a year for all of my sites. And that actually comes with a couple of other services that I was paying for separately. So I actually get a pretty good deal on that one. I haven't taken advantage of all of it. For instance, I can do domain. I can do domain sales and things like that. But I've been very happy with the level of service I've gotten from D9, and their responsiveness is super.
Okay, thank you. Next question is different. I haven't been to your website. I don't know what it is, but do you have different approaches for any mobile application development? Do you have responsive websites, and or is this strictly just for PC type interfacing, or do you do anything different when you know it's a mobile presentation that you're working on?
Some of the themes that I used are mobile out of the box, and the latest WordPress themes are all mobile out of the box. So I just rely on that one. I do know that the world is going to mobile devices, and I'm probably a little bit behind that curve. But yeah, I do recognize that some people do access my sites on mobile devices, and I have checked them out on my, I use my own Android smartphone to check to see how my sites look on there. But I haven't given a whole lot of effort to that.
Okay. I'm kind of where you are. I'm not the mobile developer. There's no way I'm a mobile responsive website developer, but I'm trying to keep up with the waves here.
Yeah, the way things are going, probably more than half of all accesses to the internet are, if they aren't already, they will be shortly. They'll be from mobile phones and tablets. So yeah, that is an important thing, and I haven't really worried much about it. I basically just let WordPress take care of that for me.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Give us your website again, would you?
The website, I will actually have a link on that on my, let's see, on my first page is makemoneyblogging.net.
Thank you.
And I'll be sending, like I said, I'll be putting links on the YouTube video, and I'll be sending Diane a link so that y'all can access this recording. Now that's one of about, at one time I had about 60 sites going. I'm down to about 30 now. Basically, I decided that trying to run 60 sites was just not working for me. So not only have I scaled that way down, I'm using a virtual assistant to handle most of the day-to-day stuff.
I like your shirt. It looks like you found Margaritaville.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I like your shirt.
Oh, yeah, I got this on a recent cruise. Yeah, next time I get to cruise, it's going to be in November, and my wife is already champing at the bit to go on a cruise. But that's going to be a while because of the new job and the way that they ran vacation. It wasn't really worthwhile taking a vacation first year.
Right.
What's your good cruise website?
I'm sorry, what?
Your cruise website.
Oh, we actually had we had a choicetraveltexas.com, and we shut that one down. So we don't actually have a site that's dedicated to cruising anymore. Although I do have my vanity site, and Georgine has her vanity site, and we have one called babyboomertalkblog.com, which is actually a guest blog now, that occasionally discusses things like cruising. Cruising is a really good and relatively inexpensive way to take a luxury vacation.
Baby Bloomer what?
Baby Boomer Blog Talk. No, Baby Boomer Talk Blog.
Baby boomer.
Thank you.
Make sure that that's, I guess I could, yeah, babyboomertalkblog.com. So, and like I said, that's now a guest blog. If you'd like to write an article for that, I'd be happy to have it.
I just want to take some I've never had a cruise.
Never been on a cruise?
Never.
The one thing that you want to be careful of is that you don't have problems with motion sickness. If you have motion sickness problems, if you get seasick, a cruise is not very much fun. If you don't get seasick, it's great.
I have some of that.
Any other questions before we sign off?
Howard, Richard Elliott again. Sounds like I can help out with some of that cruise blogging. I've got one coming up in October, and I did one 2 years ago in the Mediterranean. It was definitely bloggable.
Yeah, if you want to submit some articles, I allow backlinks and so forth. So if you have your own blog that you want to promote with SEO, you can do an article on one of mine, and I'll give you a backlink to that. We can go through that. You can get my contact information from Diane.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what is next month's program going to be on? Have you decided yet?
Have you started yet? Is that what you said?
Yeah, next month's presentation.
Oh.
What have you decided what you're going to do for that?
Oh, you want me to do next month's too?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop recording here.